Could you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Tar.
Here.
Kellogg.
Here.
Brandt is not here. Rose.
Here.
Hayes.
Here.
Poznansky.
Here.
And Stevens.
Here.
Okay.
Could everybody stand and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So do we have anybody here for public forum? That would be you, Donna. Okay, come on up.
I forgot my water. She's grabbing us some water real quick.
That's fine. Hi, I'm Donna Seminis. My husband and I own Old World New. He's over there smiling, so I can't look at him. Own Old World Nouveau at 164 Main Street, across from Tar Financial. I'm here for two reasons. The first reason I'm here is to share, and what I wanted to share was that Elizabeth sent out a questionnaire when she first started her job, asking how can the DDA help you? And I said if you would include the entire downtown and the southern quadrant of the downtown. And she has worked amazingly in including us. And I'm so impressed with her collaborative effort. She's dynamic. Her personality is so dynamic. I can't keep up with her. But she shows her true commitment to the downtown in everything she does. So thank you, Elizabeth. It's amazing. On DDA meetings on Thursday morning, she whipped together the Winterfest along with Madison. It was a great, fun family event, and we were really impressed. And then when I came to a Thursday meeting, we were hearing about the alley project. I jumped on that, thinking Peyton Manor would be a great place to have that. I'm thrilled with what she's doing in the other alleys with the beautification, but I wanted the same thing for us in Peyton Manor. So I jumped at the chance of getting a planter and lights. There was some confusion with who owns Peyton Manor, if it's private or public. I worked with our property managers who gave me a copy of the master deed, and the master deed shows that that courtyard is public property. I sent the master deed to Elizabeth along with the map. I don't have it here to show you, but I gave copies to I emailed Elizabeth those things. Meanwhile, Peyton Manor is using all of its reserves to repair one of our roofs. So we've all become, as a community, we've all become the gardeners and the property managers of Peyton Manor. With that said, David and I paid for the plants and the same type that you guys got from Vans Valley, soil, and we had delivery of the planter to our Peyton Manor alley. So this is the second reason why I'm here, is to ask if you would consider having Sean water our planter, as well as he waters all the downtown, and if you would consider reimbursing David and me for the plants, the soil, and the delivery of the planters. And the cost was about $225. You have questions for me?
Just a quick comment. Thank you for what you guys do there. You've been there a long time and you work hard. It's a great store, and
Thank you.
love to see the activity and consistent traffic over there. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
good strong anchor there.
Yeah. Thank you. We really appreciate it. We love Romeo. We've been here over 20 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Sparty.
And Sparty and Max, yes, they're still around. Sparty and Max, the dogs are still around. So.
Any other discussion on?
Discussion. No, I mean, you can't vote on anything since it's not an agenda item.
Right.
So I don't know how that would work as far as the reimbursement.
I have a
is concerned.
suggestion.
Sure.
It's later in my director's report, and it's actually on the last item, the suggested action item. Last month, you guys approved a $15,000 budget for the alleyway beautification project, $5,000 coming from the DDA budget and $10,000 from fundraising, of which I've already gotten $8,500 from external sources, adding on the we've only spent about 7,500. So I don't even know that there would need to be board action on that. I can pay that out of the beautification fund. There's
That-
plenty of funds there.
That's what I was gonna say too. If it's part of that scope of work, then that's, at your discretion as far as how that's being spent, because we've already approved it.
You
So
approved it, yeah.
That's, we'll leave that up to our director, I guess.
Okay, great.
Okay, the second part.
Yes, I'll pay for that.
Thank you.
Well, the second part question was the watering.
Yes.
Has Sean ever watered plants in that area?
He does the street planters.
Right.
And I was thinking he was doing the Project Alley planters as well. And the reason why is when I was talking to Linda and Ray and Steenkist, they said because of our water, the quality of our water, they have to add fertilizers to their water.
Right.
So I was assuming that those planters were getting hit as well as the planters on the street.
I'm not
They're
sure.
not?
So they,
Elizabeth?
yeah, so that's a really good question, actually. These are all things I've discovered just in the last 30 days. Ray and Sean they take care of the contract at, from what I understand, at the Office Pub. And then also, so all of those plantings, they purchase separately from the DDA contract. And then he waters those when he's out watering everything else under a separate bill. You know, I don't know what they charge or any of that. Then when everything was planted, I went around our building and went, that's weird, how come these planters aren't planted? And that was before the planter idea of getting down to their space came about. But I didn't realize, somehow, Bill Parker commandeered a couple planters when some of them were being removed. I have no idea the background on that. Knowing that he was about to go out of the country, I'm like, what are you doing about your planters? Because it looks like it's village, right? I mean, everything else is planted, but those weren't. They just had a little tree in it. So contacted Ray and said, hey, do you have any extra plants? Could you do that for Bill? They figured it out, but he's taking care of the watering of, and those are private. So those are privately owned, privately funded.
Who's taking care of the watering?
Bill.
Sean is.
Oh, Sean is?
Sean is.
I believe he's.
Is Bill paying him for
But
them?
it's correct,
Okay.
right, so there's a separate charge, so we would need to find out what that charge is. I would imagine it's gonna be nominal, and whatever it is, I'll try to talk them down. But, I mean, I think we could, under this, for this year, for this project, I think we could cover it with the funds that I have. I've been really, really tight on what I've been spending money on thus
So
far.
did you set up him watering the planters in the marketplace, Ally?
They're including that in the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, so this would be the one add-on thing, so we could find out what that would be. But I think I could cover that
Okay.
with the other, because they're already right there.
And we'll have to update that space next year when the flowering and water bids go out.
That would
because
hopefully be
that's-
this fall.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's gonna have to, we're
absolutely.
gonna wanna make sure that that's included.
Yeah.
Any alleyways or future projects that we are, maybe we need to redo a map or something like that.
Where everything is,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So if the general consensus of the board is, sure, as long as you can take care of it within the beautification fund, I think this is, we had to pivot, which you'll learn about more in the director's report if you haven't read that yet. And that's how we ended up with lights in Peyton, and that's happening this week, but, as opposed to another alley, so, it was very serendipitous that she was there that day to say, well, wait a minute, what about, and then we found an archaic, it's not archaic because it was only 2012, but we have a map of what is actual village alleyways to, and that also confirmed that Peyton Alley is village owned.
Interesting.
So what I'm hearing is what Donna's requesting will come out of your beautification funds.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Great, thank
There
you
you
guys
go.
so much.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, did you want to add something to the agenda?
I do want to add under unfinished business, line item C, DDA facade award proposed guidelines for approval. And then I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
Okay, can you give me just a second? All right, so that was Hayes, and was that support by you, Megan?
Megan?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from May 22nd's regular meeting? The 3-hour meeting.
I'll approve.
Second?
Was that you second?
No,
Oh, I'll second.
yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Financial report. Elizabeth?
Yes, Michelle was not able to be here due to a family emergency, so I will do my best to go through all the financials with you. And let me know if you have any specific questions. We'll kind of go through the report just briefly. Everything went through the end of May to May 31st. Everything is included with the exception of the interest income from the bank. You see the revenue there. You see how it's been, each items that have come through. So there's 1, 2, 3, there's 5, obviously. Those 5 items were all donations, and they are marked in the financial specific to where the funds are going. You see all the work that was completed in May. There's some various notes in there specific to our budget. I know that Michelle got to numbers to Kelly showing there's some additional expenses that we expect to incur for the month of June, but even with that, there will be a remainder of about $100,000 from this year's budget that will be able to go into fund balance. So we are not going to end up with.
But I think part of that is the crosswalk wasn't paid out of this.
We adjusted that. We had already previously adjusted that. If you look
So that
at your
100,000 is over and above what was counted for the crosswalk?
yes. Give me
Okay.
1 second to pull my budget out. So if you look, I don't know if you all have
Yeah, it's not
your-
in this one.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the amended budget, so if I'll just give you this real quick. So under the amended budget that did we approve that? Did you guys approve that in March or April? I think it was March.
March.
If I remember
Mhm.
right. Under pedestrian crosswalks, it was adjusted for only 10,000 in there, whereas previously, remember, I think it was,
Right.
there was 80 or 90,000 in the previous budget that you approved last summer. The facade sign grants was $7,000. There was additional funds of,
Well, the 50,000 is in there for the light thing. So
yes, thank you. Yeah, so
So
there's
that
there were
proposed-
several big ticket, yeah, the lighting was
The
44,000,
proposed amount was 83,000. We've only spent 9,100.
correct.
So that is the difference.
It's a huge bulk
Yeah.
right there.
Okay.
And then there's employee expenses that didn't incur, so there's a reduction in, I mean, so there's part of that, there's office equipment that isn't, there's quite a few other things. I did not end up going to the conference, so that money will still be there. And some other miscellaneous items. So that's just a rough note there. Under our notes, we currently have about a little over 1,400 left in the budget for small office equipment. Madison and I are both working off of our personal computers. I'm not quite sure what everybody's position is on that. I know that when I took the position, I said that I wanted to use my personal computer, which I still am. This is mine right here. I have purchased one. I got a crazy good deal on the exact same one through Marketplace. It's in phenomenal. I mean, whether you approve to pay for it or not, it's up to you guys. But it was a pretty good deal at $350. So.
What happened to the one that Lisa had?
That's what the accountant uses.
Oh, she's using it.
Correct,
Gotcha.
yeah, so it's still in,
So it
it's
is
still in
being
use.
used.
It's noted on here that I did not attend the conference, and then when an amended year-end budget is done, we're requesting to change the Saturdays in October to the Vintage Fest line item, because it's the same dollar amount that you all approved for Vintage Fest, that compared to the Oktoberfest money that was in the line item, knowing that as we move forward, we have category budget versus a line item, so next year that won't be an issue for us to change that line item internally. But for the budget, when we close it out in the year, it'll have to be adjusted so that it says, something says Vintage Fest somewhere, as opposed to Saturdays in October, because we didn't spend any on that. And then the next steps, as you see, is going through some more files and cleaning up some various things. So those are her notes. Are there any questions on the?
Yeah, going
Budget?
back to the, $100,000 rough number, the fund balance, and then Kelly brought up crosswalks, but that's to be used for crosswalks in the 20.
We already have it in the new budget,
And it's to be used from the fund balance.
but it's already, correct, but it's allocated in the next year's budget
So-
already.
So it's not $100,000 that's just transferring over that we don't have use for. 90,000 of that we are already using for crosswalks in the next budget.
That's money in addition to what's, so basically, our current budget, we will have an extra $100,000 that didn't get spent, that was allocated from the approved budget from March.
And this says 90,000 of that is to be used for crosswalks, use money from fund balance.
Can you tell me what are you?
Sure, 22-23 fiscal year budget,
Yes.
and then we're looking at revenue sharing, 880.050. We need 110,000. So we need to take 90,000, the way I'm reading it, correct me if I'm wrong, 90,000 of that from our fund balance, which is this carryover that we're talking about having. So I don't want to spend that before budget ends, because we need it already.
It's already been allocated in the approved budget.
Well, the
So-
line item is not quite correct on this new one. It's stating $10,000.
No, so for the current amended budget that you all
No, no.
approved,
The actual budget for 22-23 that was approved says the Main Street pedestrian crosswalk is $10,000. Oh, never mind. You have it in approved.
Yeah,
Okay. So that is it is approved from the 22 budget then.
correct.
So to John's point, that 100,000 coming in,
It's going right back out.
it's
the
going
door.
back right.
So I don't want anybody to think we're sitting on.
Right.
Right, it's just because of where the project fell on the
Right.
calendar year.
Right,
And we're
so
gonna
basically what
use
I'm-
this, what we're calling surplus, I just don't like the word surplus, because it's not. So we really don't have that money to spend before end
Right.
of June.
So at the bottom of the budget that was just approved for 22-23, it says beginning fund balance fiscal year 21 was 243,482. Projected ending would have been 201 if everything was spent in the approved budget of $416,200, which it's not. So now the projected ending fund balance, instead of it being 201,000, it's going to be approximately a little over 300,000. Because that money will not have been spent. So instead of the projected end balance, again, of 200,000, it will be 300 and some change. Does that make sense?
It makes it, correct, it was not spent, but it has been allocated.
Right.
So don't.
Not the 100,000 going back in has not been allocated, but fund balance is fund balance. It can be there, we have all kinds of goals, right, in the upcoming year, so it's still gonna get used. Fund balance just helps separate it as it's not allocated funds in the next fiscal year, but it will be there as a placeholder when the next project comes up. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm reading what this says. 90,000 expected
As a one-time
capital
capital
improvement.
improvement.
crosswalk project, use money from fund balance. So
then-
that's where we're gonna get the 90,000 from,
Yep.
based on
Correct.
this account.
Right, so if you look at the bottom of that, where it says projected ending fund balance of fiscal year 2022, the projected would be 201,000 with all of those expenses, with this fiscal year being completely spent out. That's what we would have left. But now there'll be more money in there because we didn't spend all of the money in this current fiscal year.
I think you guys are both saying the same thing.
We're saying the same thing.
You're saying the same thing.
Yeah, we're saying the
Yeah.
same thing.
I'm just making it clear.
Yeah.
We don't have
At
that.
it from different
Right.
angles.
You both are
Sure.
saying the same thing. Okay.
And then, of course, you see the credit card statement in there, and you can see all of our different transactions and how they've been assigned. Are there any other questions on the finances?
No, I just was surprised about the computer thing, and I think whatever we need to do to help you rectify that, it seems confusing almost that you'd be using your personal stuff.
She asked to do that when she
Well,
took the
because one
job.
person can't use, I mean,
Right,
two
right.
people can't use one computer. I mean, it was.
So are you asking us to purchase the one you bought, like yours, for the 350?
Right, and we need to come up with some sort of a administrative solution for, for other staff, and specifically, Matt, she's using her own computer, her own phone. I'm not saying we have to come up with that tonight, but as you know, I'm pretty frugal in many ways, and so if I can work out
I
those
thought you were
details with
asking us to
Kelly.
purchase this for her to use.
It could be that for now. At some point, I've got to have something, mine is not that powerful, as far as memory and whatnot. So I'm not asking for that decision, but if I can work with Kelly to come up with a solution between now and the end of the fiscal year, then it can come out of this fiscal year instead of, going into the next. And we can come up with a
So
pretty
you
simple
need
solution.
two at some point, right? One now and one maybe next. That's great.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Greg. I think we have the funds to get one now, $350.
And we have the funds in there, so. Are you all comfortable with me working with Kelly on that then?
Yeah. I'm fine
Within
with
it?
that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so I need a motion to pay the bills in the amount of, or I'll make the motion to pay the bills in the amount of $25,717.62 for the bills through May 31st, 2022. Greg seconded that,
Okay.
and roll call, Elizabeth.
Okay, Poznanski,
Yes?
Rose,
Yes?
Brandt is absent, sorry. Hayes,
Yes.
Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Stevens.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes. Okay, you're wearing your second hat tonight, now the executive director report.
Yeah, okay. So, as you know, the budget for the year 2023 budget was approved by Village Council on May 16th. Copies have been forwarded to all of you, and it's also on our new website as part of our PA 57 compliance. There's several other pieces to PA 57, Public Act 57, that we need to get on our website, which we'll be doing in the coming months. Biannual information meeting, again, in compliance with PA 57, we've scheduled our informational meetings for July and either November or December. We'll see how that rolls out towards the end of the year, which month we do that in. I think you'll be pleased with the way that's going to be presented. So it's going to involve a projector. So
We just need to get the people here.
yeah, exactly, yeah. If not, it can go online and could be on TV since it's contracted, right? Our new website has launched, and we have been getting many, many compliments on our new website and the multiple features that are included. Several of those features were outside of the original scope of work, and the DDA is not being billed additionally for those features. We are grateful for the excellent advice and execution by the team of Think Street Media for pushing us a little further in our thinking than what we now see, to get what we now see. While it did not launch without a few glitches, and what website doesn't, and items that were not quite complete on launch day, or we are very happy with the product, there's still additional features that will continue to be added in the coming months. Chalk the Walk, by all accounts, was a huge success. We are launching a final contest this week for photo submissions for a random drawing of two $25 gift cards for Main Street Coffee Shop. I have those in the office. I noticed there's still a couple of the containers of chalk out, and people are still using it, which is great to see.
I saw that. Some people bring them in, so when I go to grab them.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
So sometimes people are happy drawing and have at it.
So what's nice is that with the new rain, it'll wash off, and then there'll still be some new stuff that'll come out. So that will be launched here soon. Our DDA events committees met quite a few times this month, and Vintage Fest planning is in full swing. More on that under unfinished business. We are also planning and recommending Autumn Fest for Saturdays or weekend in October. Those will be more business or organization-led events, not specifically DDA-led, but we can lead, just like what we've done with the garage sale weekends. We aren't doing anything with that other than just promoting it. So that's pretty low. More details on that event series will be available in July. Downtown beautification, all of our contracted flowers and pots have been installed and are growing and blooming beautifully. Ray and his team have once again gone above and beyond the contract to make downtown Romeo simply stunning. This past week, our DDA event committee, there was discussion about fall and Christmas decor, and we need to go out for bid on that soon. I'm looking for some board direction on those items. If you're comfortable with me coming with some recommendations for that next month, I don't know if you guys want to have a separate committee to do that. how you want to move forward with that, but time is getting to be of the essence for a couple of those items. So it's been suggested specifically for the winter decorations, to keep the pots up and do Christmas decorations, the sprigs and whatnot in the pots, and then do lighting around that. That would actually be less wear and tear on the baskets, the connectors, and also the poles. But we probably will save some money on that as well compared to previous years' budgets for those
Are you
items.
talking the pots you've just moved in?
Oh, no, the planter, the hanging, everything that's on, hanging on the poles.
Oh, not the big pots.
Right.
Okay.
And depending on what you're purchasing, right now, everything's on sale. The closer you get to the time, the less sale price they're gonna give you. They want you to purchase now. Just-
Oh, I'm talking about the contracts, though, for bringing in the Christmas decor and the lighting and whatnot. Yeah, lighting, we're,
And we need to buy those lights, that's what I'm saying, those
Yes.
lights right now would be on sale. They give you a bit of a discount.
absolutely.
sooner
And
this
have you
summer.
helped purchase those before?
No, that was Lisa.
It was Lisa, okay. Yeah, so I'm working with Matt Jarosh on that as far as which lights to make sure to get, and I want those purchased this month, so it goes under this fiscal year. So we can have more discussion on that, if you, maybe give you some more direction later. The spring banners were changed out to show off the American flag banners just in time for Memorial Day. They'll remain in place for most of July, August. It's been a nice addition to the downtown. It'll also be up for 4th of July. They'll then be switched out for Peach Festival, at which time we'll work in collaboration with the Romeo District Library to relaunch the Romeo Trivia banners, which have lovely fall colors and will be a fun-filled family event that can be promoted in a myriad of ways. The Lions have been notified that there's a charge for putting those banners up. So I'm working with DPW to understand the charges, because they seem to fluctuate every time I get a bill on that, and I think we need clarity as far as how that is being charged.
Does it depend on the amount of banners they're putting up?
It does, but it's not consistent with what the
Okay.
last one was, so I'm just trying to understand that a little bit
How
better.
much will we charge to switch out for these memorial ones?
Yes, so I just got that bill a couple days ago, and it was $792, but last month it was like $590 something. But there was more work in last month's, the installation of the spring banners from 2 months ago. So that's where I'm trying to understand
I
the
think we had-
discrepancy on
No, I
that.
thought no. Was anything up there before those ones?
That's
Yeah.
just it, they installed, there was not, and so they had to
Right.
reinstall the clips so this should have been a simpler switch out, but I don't know, I need to find that out, so we'll work on that. 2022, the beautification project, we're full steam ahead on these improvements, modifications, and beautifications. Key areas that have been addressed are, this is a really long, did you guys read this? Do you want me to read through this whole thing?
I read it.
I can read it if you want me to. I just feel like I'm hearing myself talk.
The only thing I have questions on is the dumpster corral part of it. but-
Okay, well, all right, then
Wanna
we'll
move down
get
to
to that.
That's fine.
One thing I wanted to say under the Parker Alley, I got a phone call, spoke with Mike Romano today from Tech City, and he was asking if we could, again, this could be paid for under my alley beautification fund, but he would really like to see a hose holder put up there. They went ahead and purchased a garden hose for Parker Alley, but he said it would just be nice to have a holder mounted so that when people, there's a bunch of chalk out or there's just debris in the alleyway, they can hose it off and whatnot. So I would plan to do that under there if there's no objection to that. Where do I have that about the dumpsters?
Just after.
Under marketing, publications, and communications.
Got it, okay. So you also have seen the shopping and dining guides, are you happy with them? So this,
Yes.
you'll
good.
see on the thing, and thanks to Madison, this is all her handiwork, and we're really, I'm very pleased with what she's come up at. And, how they say, don't reinvent the wheel? We didn't, we took this idea from another DDA. And so we've made some modifications, and we like our version a lot better. You'll see on the bottom, it says May 2022, because we will date them every time they're changed. So the next iteration will most likely be July or August. With that, I put, there was a lot of interest from several businesses saying, could we include these in our carryout or our shopping bags? And what's interesting is, if a dining facility says, can we put this guide in a shopping bag, what are they doing? they're actually promoting everybody else. They're not just promoting them, which I think is a beautiful thing. So we thought perhaps we'll create a different one that is not date stamped, if you will, by it changing businesses, but it can have the the ever constant QR code and have connection to our website, so that doesn't have to change, but we can do it in a more cost-effective way, like on the postcard size bits, right? And then they can still be the high quality that people are starting to expect from downtown Romeo, but it won't have to be dated as far as that. So, and also we'll be launching a complete guide to all of the Central Business District businesses that will be available in print form and also in PDF form on our website. And so we have all of that data. The last page of the board packet editions that you got in front of you tonight has a complete list of all the Central Business District businesses. I would ask that you be very careful with where that goes. Because we had several businesses that are just like, you're not going to take this and sell this to anybody, right? You're not taking my information, which I know none of you will, but and it wouldn't number them when I printed it out, but there's 110 businesses there. I was surprised by there's that many businesses in downtown. And we learned that we met a new one today. That's here. And then also, we would like to work on creating a village-wide mailer similar to ones that the village has sent out recently. These will help bridge the gap between just social media exposure and direct contact with our village residents who may not be aware of all the businesses and services available just down the street from where they live. Not everyone's on social media. Quite a few people aren't. And so I think it's imperative that we use that. We have the money in that line item in our current budget.
We used to do not a mailer, but more like a magazine or a letter, quarterly, long time ago.
Well, if we do just, a mailer similar to what the village office put out, that actually is going to be that'll be more cost effective than like sending out a letter. But we can have some sort of a letter on it for sure, because you'd use that mass mailing, I
You
don't
get
know
a
what they
discount on the zip codes.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they call it, but where it goes straight to the post office.
Right.
So that's something that we can get done before the end of the fiscal year. Unless there's an objection to that, that is something we'd like to move forward on. And that will actually coincide and go right along with our informational meeting. And so we could actually promote the informational meeting on that for the July meeting as well. So, to your point, dumpster crawls. Communication is included from one of our downtown businesses in the northwest quadrant. Direction is needed in what has transpired in the past and forward movement in our three quadrants that are in need of cohesive, consistent design. Light can be seen in our southwest quadrant. In light of the recent Village of Romeo DDA 2022-2023 budget approval with the robust allocation, there is discussion and interest into how this can be utilized in our downtown. I think this was talked about. I know Greg's brought it up to me before. Nader, who's the owner-manager of the Pit Stop, he's using his own property for those dumpsters that are back there. They're talking about reducing one of those dumpsters for all of those business, and they work together on that. So kind of looking for a little bit of direction, and maybe we put it as an agenda item. I don't know how you all have handled this in the past.
Well, we know we looked into dumpster corrals at previous times. I think at even one point it was a line item on the budget that we had allocated that for a brick and mortar project. Even going, because the one in the southwest quadrant, that one is probably almost 15 years old. And I think it cost roughly 25 or 30,000 back then. And it was just deemed a project that we didn't have the funds for. And I think even, especially now, looking at where we're at budget-wise, I don't see how we could possibly even have that conversation right now about doing dumpster corrals.
Well, the quadrant she's speaking to, this has been reviewed, and because of the overhead lines in the proximity to, because you're around the village park, there was no place to put a dumpster corral in that area.
Some communication could could happen so specifically, it's, the business is, as you can see from the emails, it's the Main Street Romeo Kitchen and Bar. They are willing, they're talking to their neighbors to say, hey, would you be interested in joining forces, basically reducing some of it and combining their services, even if they're combining it and doing it themselves. We can help facilitate the communication on that and having a meeting with everybody, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that money has to come out of the DDA budget, but we can use, one of the goals is, right, to help improve communication, enhance the beautification of the downtown, and promote the economic development of the downtown. So in doing so, it doesn't mean we always have to spend money to do that. Sometimes it's as simple as getting a communication plan in
No,
place.
that would be great, and when you're doing it, communicate that we don't have funds to.
But if the
Right.
businesses could collaborate in reducing the 5 dumpsters down to 1 giant or 1, 2,
I know we even talked about, back a while, probably a year or so ago, we approached to see if we could grab any of those parking spaces that were up for grabs per se at that moment.
Right.
And that didn't work out, because that was really our only option with the.
the problem in that quadrant is their overhead lines right now. So, and I don't know what's going to happen with the park, so if the businesses can collaborate on that, I think that's the route to go.
Does anybody on the board have any type of construction background?
I don't.
What I'm wondering is there any type of temporary enclosure that could be set up, like like a temporary construction site, if you will? Those fences that have feet on them, could there be something like that, so where it's just, even over behind the pit stop, right, to make it look nicer, so it doesn't
The
look
problem is the trucks coming in there, getting their bow up.
Oh, true. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only other problem with the collaboration and stuff like that is what happens when somebody new comes in or things change and all of a sudden the person who was willing to cooperate is no longer willing to cooperate. I mean, John, you're back there in that area. What kind of discussions have taken place so far? Have you, because I believe at one time we were approached by the gentleman who owned your building and basically
We were.
told go figure it out, and that's when we came up with what Kelly had mentioned. But is there discussion about reducing those? Has somebody from Main Street reached out to you?
I mean, I can tell you, with maybe one exception, just because the conversation hasn't happened, everybody's all for it. There've been conversations. There's nowhere.
Where exactly?
It's private property. Nobody's gonna give up their private property,
Right.
private, parking spaces. So that's where everything.
So
ends.
hence
That's
why
where it
you're
ended.
ending up with all of those little ones.
That's where it ended. So the landlords, plural, for each establishment allows a dumpster behind their building, and that's the end of it.
So perhaps
Maybe does the village have property they want to designate toward? You want to carve out part of the park? I don't know.
So perhaps part of the conversation is the volume, is it doable to maybe reduce some of the containers? That's what the northeast quadrant, that's what the solution they're coming up with between Buscemi's and Pit Stop and Four Corners and all of them. They've decided, they've figured out they don't need all of those dumpsters, they can actually reduce it.
But
So
they
if
have
there's
that
a
nice big
reduction.
open spot to put.
True.
And John, didn't you just say nobody's willing to give up their, it's like, yeah, let's do this, but as long as I don't have to be the one that's stuck with the dumpster on
But
my,
taking some of the
property.
dumpster out would be replacing it where it currently is. Wouldn't that open up some spots of parking too? If you
Perhaps.
reduce the dumpsters over there?
I don't know if
There's
it
no real
really
parking.
would.
I mean, there certainly can be, combining dumpsters, that can be done. You know.
Well, then I think it's a conversation between the businesses.
Yeah, I can certainly talk
Yeah.
to
And have
Christoph about combining dumpsters. There's one. I don't know what Masonic uses their dumpster for, but that's always out there too. It fills up, and I think some of it is from outsiders using it because it's there.
Well,
So
they
there's
run
three
events
I'm
on the
talking
weekends and
about.
such, so
Right.
then you have all that.
So we could also get some further direction, Zach, since you brought, since you had you have a lot more institutional knowledge on this. So finding out with a little bit more direction from the village office too, what does this mean, since there is funding with the rubbish fund, right, that the central business district has not been included in the current contract. So we need to understand, what does that look like?
Right.
for some of the businesses and residents in the central business district that have not been included in that contract. So I could get some clarity on that, and we
Sure.
could put it,
Yeah.
to have it as an agenda item for next month.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and one
Okay.
thing I do just want to mention is, because this is what we talked about before when we first brought this up, was that we don't want to get ourselves into this, it seems like when the first dumpster corral was installed, there was no plan for a second, third, or fourth, even though they were needed. So I don't want to be short-sighted in any new project for a dumpster corral that doesn't include all the other main quadrants. Because
I
I
would
think
agree
that
with
would be
you.
short-sighted, and then in another 15 years, we're
Right, you
having
got
the
the
same
same thing,
conversation.
yeah.
So I think as long as there, and we can have a timeline for when we could complete those projects, or when we could even start them, but I think long-term, it is needed so that you don't have any dumpsters back there, because it doesn't look nice. And
Right.
it doesn't look nice with the park, so.
And in the short term, perhaps like what we're doing with with
parking.
some of the parking and the signage and
Right.
whatnot is, there's different phases, right? I
Sure.
mean, even if we had the same contractor with all the same colors, I mean, that alone would make a huge difference in what it looks like in the back, so.
What did you say, Zach, about eventually there'd be no dumpsters, or was that?
Well, I just said,
It would be
in hopes
nice
that
not
there
to
would be
have
no
any-
dumpsters, and, well, just the dumpster corrals and not the actual exposed dumpsters for, in front of each
Who owns
business.
the parking spots, the pull-in spots that are on the east side of the village park? Is that the village property? There's about nine.
It's the building owner's property,
Oh.
The ones that pull, when you.
like
pull-
behind Romeo Printing,
Yeah,
they all own their own spots.
but do they own all the way to the park then through the alley?
No.
No,
No.
around the park is the villages, but the pull-in ones against the building are the building
So
owners.
I certainly think something that could be worth discussing is, you know, I'm looking at the overview of it right now, is there's probably about 12 spots along there is, you know, where we could play our role in it is, you know, the village could offer a spot for those dumpsters. While it's not the most beautiful place,
He's talking about one of the spots around the park instead. See, I don't think you'd want to.
I'm thinking one step farther, would it be too far to go to the new parking lot?
I was just thinking that
Yeah.
too.
That's not a bad idea.
I mean,
That's,
that might be annoying,
to go where.
But-
the new parking
but-
lot on Church Street,
But it's out
to
of,
walk that far, but that's.
I was thinking the
Yeah.
same thing.
Well, we do have, the developer, who owns, Locks Cleaners and, where the winery was, he's supposed to be, I think he's supposed to be coming in on Thursday with some plan ideas. And in previous meetings with him, and with the village president, we've talked about, in your plans, in redoing
Where's
this,
your
if we
parking?
have a little bit of give, can we come up with a fix for the corral for dumpsters? So we might actually have a solution or a suggestion of a solution
Yeah, because with
come
his,
Thursday.
with his vision, he's gonna have some needs for dumpsters from.
Absolutely, and there's gonna be major modifications
There's gonna
to
be
that
more
whole
before-
area, so it's kind of the
So-
perfect
There's gonna be more
time.
before-
Maybe see what he's proposing
Yeah.
and we bring this back for July.
Okay, so,
Okay.
so if everyone's okay, we'll probably do some kind of communication between now
Oh,
and the
yeah.
end of July with the businesses to say, what are your thoughts? And, you know, and I'm all about communication, so we're gonna get all kinds of interesting stuff.
Last thing on that too is, maybe communicating directly with the business, the building owners as well. If you're gonna look at some sort of capital improvement, that then stays with that building, you know, forever. When somebody leases the building 6 years or 12 years down the road from now, they know now they've got a piece of a dumpster corral, which is
Perfect.
important, it's valuable.
Can I lean on you for a little bit of your
Yeah.
verbiage on that? Okay, perfect. Thank you. In my downtown podcast, our new episodes are available, and continuing education for me. MDA continues to be a valuable resource while we enter into the busy season for downtown Romeo. There's a member-only group that has been very helpful in identifying best practice methods in several key areas, just in this past month alone. It's a very sharing community and very responsive, and I'm proud to be part of it. And like I said before, just due to some other circumstances, I ended up not going to that event, so none of that money was spent, so. But thank you for your support, you know, and supporting continued education.
Okay. And we don't have any funding requests here, right? Committee reports. Does the policy committee have any update? Elizabeth? No? Okay. Parking study?
No, nothing new.
It's just that they're in, and we've paid for the signs that, that you all agreed to, and the village agreed to take care of the installation and all the other aspects of that, and so we'll be working on a map, to get those installed within the next 30 days.
Awesome. Yeah, because I noticed that was part of the bills. Okay. John, do you want to help us with the employment
Sure,
recommendation?
employment committee
Mhm.
update. Well, I guess on behalf of the employment committee, I would like to recommend a bonus for Elizabeth Miller of $1,000 out of this year's physical budget for a job well done.
I'll second that. Any
Does-
discussion?
No, shouldn't it be a line item? If we're voting on something as
It
opposed
is,
to,
oh,
if it's a report, it's not an action item. We can, I don't have a problem doing it, it's just maybe for the future, I think if we're gonna vote on something.
Well, it's listed under a report, so it should be fine as far as how we're doing the minutes and whatnot. If you're-
Okay, I just wanna make sure we're
Okay.
following
Yeah, no, because
protocol.
if you were a resident reading it under reports, you would think just report, you wouldn't think that money is being spent or that anything under that line. So I see what you're saying, but can make it clearer in the future.
okay. So we have a motion and a second. Elizabeth, can you do a roll call, please?
Sure. All right, Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Brandt is not here. Rose,
Yes?
Hayes,
Yes?
Poznanski,
Yes?
Stevens.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, unfinished business. Pedestrian crosswalk. Is there any update on that?
Just that we're waiting for, that it's been awarded to the lower bidder, and we're just waiting for them to get the schedule out.
So we
and
really don't
whatnot.
have a
I guess
schedule.
this is normal for everything to be go, 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 and then like, no, we gotta wait for them so we do
But-
not have a schedule yet, but as soon as we do, it will be sent out to the board.
Okay.
Who won the bid?
That's a great question. I don't have it on the top of
Do
my,
you
you
know?
know.
Megan?
Someone for over 600 grand, whatever.
Okay. Vintage Fest. I think that's you, Madison.
I think so too.
You can stay right there.
All right. So, the first ever Romeo Vintage Fest is taking form before our very eyes. So this past month, we've made much progress with the help of community members and support from the Central Business District. So the first thing I'd like you all to look at in your packet in regarding Vintage Fest is our event map. Stated here on the key, we have our road closures, car locations, vendors, volunteer stage, and sidewalk sale, and other vendors. So one of the things that we wanted to try to make sure that we were incorporating in the Vintage Fest is finding creative ways to include all of the Central Business District. So one of our creative ways is to have all of these businesses bring out merchandise that they have for sale, to put them out for sidewalk sales. And since we have a lot of service businesses, which have a lot of storefronts that might not have that capability, we're going to be working with them and communicating with them and outside vendors to make sure that there are a continuous line of things for people to look at, walk down, buy things, and guide them down to the south section of town. Also happening near the southern end in Peyton Way, we're going to be holding kids' crafts. And right across the street, People Driven has agreed to let us use their kind of front lawn for a pie eating contest. So, in the north quadrant, we'll have that top block of Main Street closed, as well as North Rawls and the surrounding alleyways for classic cars. In my original proposal, I asked for the South Rawls closure, but in talking with the police chief, He recommended not to use that closure because of rerouting traffic that might cause difficulties, and that's also a very skinny road. All right. So next in the packet is the vendor permit that we will be using for partnering vendors with businesses as well as vendors and food trucks along the section near Four Corners. So we have our normal vendor permit and then the vendor business agreement, which is a mirror copy of what has been used for Peach Fest, so it shouldn't shock too many people to have that agreement. The next items in the packet, we have our letters to both businesses and in the district, as well as outside the district, for our sponsorship packet. Something new that we're trying with this event is guiding in sponsors for, I guess, both the event as well as the downtown beautification budget, adding into there we go, into our budget. So the sponsorship packet has gone through a few different changes recently. If you see in our little amended items here, we have a new sponsorship details packet. Recently, we were able to combine forces with the MIT TV as they'll be offering extra media coverage for those sponsors. As you can see with the 1,000+ Rock and Roll Hall of Fame sponsor, you can get more live coverage of your business, promotion of business, and a PSA if you go to that sponsorship level. So, we're excited about that sponsorship thing. And then, losing things in my pack. Oh yeah. So, I did just stack this on. Anywho. So one of the next things that we want to make sure that we show off is our Vintage Fest poster. One of the main things that we want to show you guys is how much interest that this has built up without having that much prior advertising out. So we made a post on Facebook last week just kind of teasing Vintage Fest, and that got, what was the number? I don't know.
7.5.
Yeah, 7.5. I lost my sheet in the stacks of paper. 7.5 thousand interactions from just the name Vintage Fest. So we are working with Jessica again to kind of professionalize our posters. As you can see, we'll have a vintage car show, a live auction with Town Hall Antiques, a classic mini camper show that will be held in the parking lot behind Michigan Junktiques or at MJC Marketplace. And then we'll also be having swing dancing and lessons and live music in the street. Along with this marketing aspect, we're also building off of our Romeo Winterfest website to make a new Romeo Vintage Fest website. All of this is able to be accessed through our universal QR code. So if you see on the shopping and dining guide, there's a little QR code there that'll lead you to our official website, the Vintage Fest website.
Elizabeth, did you mention that that wasn't working, the QR code?
When I picked up a couple at the Main Street, you might want to check a couple.
Pull out, I have
The dining.
You have to zoom out. There's a teeny tiny one that I have on something else that came in the mail today, and I noticed if you zoom way out.
Oh, yeah, I was close, so,
Yeah, you have to zoom way out on the smaller ones.
yeah, I kept getting closer and closer.
I know, you gotta go the other
Okay.
way, which is the opposite of what you would think.
Yeah,
But
okay.
then it'll work.
Oh, good, okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
So everything will be interconnected, so we have both a backlog of information of events that we've done in the past and also be able to connect it to new and upcoming events. So we've made a lot of progress in the last 30 days.
That's good.
Do any of you have any questions, comments,
I have a
concerns?
couple questions, and I know it's in here because you're very thorough. You're gonna save me hunting. Main Street Road closure,
Yes.
what are the hours of that?
That's, the event hours is from 10 to 10.
That the road will be closed from 10 to 10?
It'll be closed a little bit on each side of that because we need to
Yeah.
do setup and tear down. So from the police chief, I am
Yeah.
having him put in from a 7 a.m. to midnight. Closure.
Outside vendors, what are their hours? Same thing? Same answer?
That'll be from 10 to 6 p.m. because we're finding, requesting vendors to be out there for 12 hours. It's really hard to get people to commit for that long.
So at 6 PM, outside vendors are packing up and leaving.
Yes.
Okay. A suggestion, you may have already done this, prepare for outside vendor cleanup,
Mm-hmm.
because they pack up and leave, and I'm left emptying garbage cans and sweeping the sidewalk and all that.
Okay.
So just a note, you might wanna, at 6 or 5:30,
Mhm.
all those garbage cans are gonna have to be emptied, because there's still a whole night of, you're gonna be open till 10 o'clock,
Mhm.
from 6 to 10, there's still gonna be activity going. And the outside vendors, they leave, so just my notes, if that makes
Will the
sense.
vendors be on the street or on the sidewalks?
Part of them will be on the sidewalk, so it's not going to be like the 10 by 10 tents because no one can walk past that on a sidewalk. We're imagining more of just kind of like this, a table and
Oh.
chair and a little setup for the streets. And then there's the section by Four Corners Diners. That's going to be split up with food trucks of non-competing types of foods, and vendors that could be in a tent space because that's a little bit of a larger area.
The cars will be on the street.
The cars will be on the
cars will
street. And then also, if you look at your map, the dancing and stage and tent to go along with that is also going to be held on the street.
I'm wondering if you might want to ask for earlier, the setup part.
Mhm.
You might want more than those 3 hours. It will go fast, and anything that you need to be done in that space can't be done until obviously it gets closed. And I'm thinking if it's already morning, it's 7, and what's the difference if it's 5 or 6? There's not that much flow of traffic right then. You might want a little more time. Just, if they're gonna allow it.
If they can allow
I
it.
would ask for a little bit more.
Madison, have you thought about, like, reaching out to one of the, like, radio stations in the Metro Detroit area, like the oldies station? Because this sounds like it'd be, like, right up their alley to come out and, like, broadcast from the event itself.
Through the day, yeah.
Because it just, I know Glenn from Youngers probably has some existing contacts with radio stations because they always come out for St. Patrick's Day. So it may be something to just add to the allure of the event and possibly draw more people in for it. Just a suggestion.
You might want to do that because I found out today, this is the Selfridge Air Base Air Show, same day,
Ooh, wow.
which is a big deal here in Macomb County.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Maybe they'll come over.
Maybe they'll fly over.
Madison, most importantly, when's the pie eating contest?
We're planning on that to be a 1 p.m. So I've reached
I have a
out.
great idea. I think all the board members should
Oh,
participate.
love it. Yeah.
I'm allergic to pie.
I've reached out to 2 separate orchards that are both interested in running pie competitions, so there's the possibility of having 2 throughout the day. So we could technically have a public one and then a board pie eating contest if everyone.
How about we
was up
just eat
for
the
it.
leftovers?
I would do
Oh,
that.
no, I'm not eating the leftovers.
Not the whole pies.
Not talking about
That's little
scraps, I'm
pies.
talking about.
So for the pies, we're thinking of the mini ones,
Yeah.
or just
Not the whole big
like
pie.
a quarter or a third. But we're not doing a full pie because
Yeah.
we do not want anything from Stand By Me happening.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, are you gonna have an ambulance present, some sort of medic?
So I've talked to the police chief about how I should handle that. He said to reach out to the fire chief, but he does not think that they're going to be willing to stage an ambulance for 12 hours.
Well, no, I'm saying for
Specifically the
During the-
pie. That might be more doable.
Someone, a medic there, you never know, someone. is-
Yeah, that is on our priority
When we
list.
did hot dog
Yeah.
eating contest, that was a concern, because hot dogs are one of the #1 choking, blah, blah, blah. So it's just a thought.
People are going fast because they want to win. Okay, yes, we want to figure out a way to have a medic somewhere
Could-
at all
well-
times.
People Driven has big parking spaces there.
Yeah, so they can just,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Well, I know you can hire them.
Did you want to ask about what they've done?
Oh, okay, yeah. So, good suggestion. For Peach Festival, what have you guys done for trash in the
What has
past?
been
Or
done.
what has
We
been
don't-
done?
The
DPW.
DPW is round the clock,
Yep,
They go out in the evening. they do-
morning, yeah.
they bring barrels and extra barrels.
So are the Lions charged for that?
I have no
That's a
idea.
better
Not-
question
I don't
for,
believe in our district.
Okay.
We, a lot of the Peach Fest stuff isn't charged for. We don't charge them for any extra, the policing, that sort of stuff.
I mean, in all,
They definitely take care of whatever is on their own property.
right. Because it's always been very clear that it's not necessarily, you know, their event itself is kind of contained down at their field there.
Yeah.
So anything outside is just the
We
responsibility of the
choose
village.
to add on to that, that's our choice, then we take care of what
Well,
we're adding on.
and that's kind of part of what my concern is, we're gonna have outside vendors.
Yeah,
They're packing up and leaving.
he's
So
spot
the-
on. Years I found myself out, it's okay, it's just part of it, but yeah, I'm out at, 9 o'clock at night.
Picking up
With the
garbage.
leaf blower cleaning up in front of the buildings
Right.
and behind them and
You can
stuff.
charge them a cleanup fee.
But what I'm saying is, they're leaving at 6 PM, you've got
Right.
events going on until 10 PM. You're not gonna have a leaf blower out there at 7, there's gonna be people, hopefully there's gonna be people everywhere, and then,
Yeah.
so there's,
I guess that's a
Just-
question for DPW. Can they
ask
put out
DPW.
more
Well, they do
barrels?
at Peach Fest, we do have extra barrels that they put out, more cans. for
Yeah,
the
and part of the
weekend.
budget may have to be for a landscape crew to come in at 6 PM and do a walkthrough and do a good once-over and, just plan.
All right. And then we're also working on a volunteer sign-up, so we could also suggest having a section of volunteers
Oh,
just
yeah.
dedicated to cleanup. But I think it would be smart to reach out to both. So in case we only get 2 people for volunteering for
Well,
cleanup.
When we were back in the day, the Beach Fest would always grab one of the sports teams. We cleaned up, as a young athlete, we cleaned up I see a head nodded back there, maybe you were part of it, I don't know.
No,
Oh.
I remember doing the same thing in high school. There's a new leadership class in middle school, you guys could probably do. Just look for
Yeah, one of the sports, make a donation, but they're out there.
Elizabeth, I have that teacher's contact information that I can forward you to, the one that she was mentioning from the
okay,
leadership
wonderful.
class.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any further questions, comments?
Good job.
Great. Yeah.
Sounds like it's progressing. It's coming up fast.
And
How many
she's doing all of
campers
you
you
in
expect?
addition to her other duties
The-
as intern. so.
The vintage campers, how many are you expected? Do you have a club coming or something, or?
We're going to be reaching out to a club. I'm aware that there's one that is usually at the Lavender Festival that comes out, that's a women's club. But we can hold 10 campers in the space that we have. We're starting off small. If there's a lot of interest in the future, we can plan for larger spaces and see what options are for those.
Lexington has that vintage boat and campers show up there each year, which is pretty cool. Chris Craft boats and campers and stuff.
Okay, thank you,
She's
Madison.
She's been doing a great job she's now logged into she can get some posting done on our social media, whatnot, which I approve before it goes out. And so we've had some releases over the weekend at key times, and, we had one little, we're like, we gotta make a change, so we were able to push the scheduled release date a little bit, time a little bit further on. So she's getting well versed in that, and we've run a couple ads that are target marketing, very specific groups of people, so we're working on that.
Good job, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay. Zach, you, DDA facade proposal?
Sure. I met with Bill Parker and Greg Tarr a couple weeks ago, and I also spoke with John Rose. He couldn't make that meeting, but we spoke about some of the guidelines for the facade award. So what I have broken down here are these guidelines that would then go to Elizabeth to write or draft the final policy for that award. The one thing we were all in agreement on was that this should be a reward for work completed and not funding requests for future projects. And we want to make this as easy and as the least complicated process for how people nominate and receive the award. So this long criteria of what is passable, what is not passable, it should just be voted on by this board. We don't need a separate subcommittee to review this and then bring it back to this board. Let it come in front of the board with completed photos of the project. And then in addition to that, the one thing that we thought would be key for this would be, aside from just giving this award, how do we make this into something that is also PR? How do we make this into something that can be featured on our website? Something that we can get the MIT TV to come in and film a little quick 5-minute thing, have the building owner talk about the project and why they did it and who nominated them. We're not limiting who can make these nominations. We did want to cap it at $1,000 as far as the financial compensation, but give the things like the promotion and the award along with this so that there's a little more to it.
So would you be changing the name?
Well, that's,
Okay.
so
All right.
that's what I was going to
Sorry.
mention, because this was just an idea I had prior to the meeting that I mentioned to Kelly and John as we were sitting here. I'm like, maybe this should be something aside from a facade award. Why can't this be just a beautification award? We were trying to think at Greg's office, Bill, myself, and Greg, like, how many projects would actually qualify for this? It's like, there might be 2 projects that are completed that would be worthy of the facade grant the way it was previously drafted. JL's is a great example. The house at Tudor that's been completely renovated. That's another great example. But these projects take time because, I'll give you a quick example. Mary Raymond, behind her building, she just had a beautiful patio put in with, it's all hardscape stuff, and technically it really wouldn't count towards the facade award. But as a beautification award, I think it allows us to give this to more businesses over time and not end up being something that we're sitting on and no nominations are coming through and we just don't do anything with it like we hadn't been. So the only other thing I would point out in there is that we do think that anything being nominated, the work should have been completed within the last 2 years. We don't want to go back and start awarding things that have been done 5, 10, 15 years ago. So let's keep it to more recent and look at future projects as they come available to us. But everything's all broken down there, so I'd be looking for an approval to be able to give this to our executive director. We don't want to redo any of the form itself, the application process. None of that would need to be updated. We can use those existing forms. So really, it's just the criteria, the process, and then the award details themselves.
So can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
From an administrative point of view?
Mhm.
So looking at the budget that was just approved.
$7,000.
No, there's 10.
No, it's 10.
Is it 10?
But it's, the line item is called facade/sign grant program.
Sure.
So you would have to, I would imagine you'd have to change that line item, because if it's
Mhm.
not a facade or if it's not a sign,
Yeah.
And it's
That
not
was
a
honestly an
grant.
idea that came up about an hour and 15 minutes ago. So I mean, that was more so when I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, we're gonna run out of things to give this award to. I mean, it's just a reality. There's not that many projects that are in place right now. And anything that has been proposed, that's gonna take time for those things to be completed. We don't wanna get in the habit of awarding half-completed projects or proposed projects. So,
Like,
yeah,
other people's projects in the past, we've been like, oh, that's not it, and then go back and come back next month.
So you would
Like,
break out the facade and the grant, you still want to keep the sign grant program,
yeah, I mean, it can,
so split the money up somehow and make it 2 line items.
yeah, I mean, you keep the sign grant in place, and, I mean, it's really just a change to the name and the guidelines. I mean, it's not like you're changing legal fees to snow maintenance and removal, you know what I mean? It's just the way it's noted here, and it's a brand, it would technically be a brand-new award program, so.
In addition or in lieu of?
In lieu of,
And look, because the facade would be included with this as well. So it could be for a facade, I'm calling it a beautification project. It can be, if it's a facade specifically, I mean, that's just what the person's nominating for.
I just looked up the definition of facade to see what the wording was
Sure.
on it. The face of a building, especially the principal front that looks onto a street or an open space.
Correct.
So, for example, using Mary's building as an example, that's an open space behind the building.
But you just said the front of the building.
Or open space.
Okay.
Onto a street or open space. Especially, but it doesn't say only. Do you know what I think there's
Yeah,
wiggle room
right.
there.
Yeah, but that's the problem. You start to get into the weeds with that, and when, you know, for instance, when MJC brought they're proposing paint and flower pots and things like that. Well, is it a facade approval if it's not connected to the building, if it's something that can easily be removed? And I don't want to get into funding paint.
But if
So-
it's beautification, it could work.
It could, yeah, collectively, and
So
that's up
in
to the
that
board
case-
to determine whether it's worthy of the award or not.
And what I like about beautification versus facade is, it could include more people,
Right.
because not everybody owns their building. So, a tenant might want to do a improvement, a beautification, that might not include the building, they don't own the building. But- So this could potentially include more people.
Yeah, and maybe I'm getting into the weeds by suggesting that, but that's just my thought, that it's a little more, it kind of allows us to cast a bigger net, a wider net, as far as how we bring in these nominations and how we disperse the funds.
So what amount are you suggesting for that out of the 10,000?
$1,000 per recipient, and then there would be additional costs that go into promoting it, or, you know, if there's time that, if the
are you
mid-TV.
giving them a plaque or something?
Yeah, exactly, doing the plaque, doing the, video shoot, doing, you know, additional PR on the website. Those are all things that would incur additional costs as well.
And how many annually are you talking?
I honestly, I wouldn't cap it at any, well, obviously, we might
we
get to a
want-
point where we're capped by the
Yeah,
budget,
right.
but I don't think we should necessarily cap it, you know, do we cap our sign grant?
Yeah, we have $10,000.
Well, I know financially,
Oh.
yes, but that's what I'm saying, like, the
No,
only
finan-
cap that I'm saying is that it would be once the funds are allocated for the year, that's the only time I would see it being capped, so, if
The 10,000 was both the facade and the sign.
correct,
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
in total.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, do we have anything in place right now that says we're only doing 2 sign grant awards a
No.
year? So it would be the same for this project, I wouldn't cap it.
It'd be when the funds are extinguished, and
Right.
on
Right.
best practice for other DDAs, that's how they have it, is
Yeah.
when the funds are extinguished. It's like when you submit for a rebate for, you know, your new furnace that you got, right? Once
Sure.
you better apply by May, or you might not get that
So
refund.
do we need to add another line item, or can we add that to the current?
Or do we just split that?
Can I make a suggestion? I
Sure.
think it might be good to, for us to consult Public Act 57 on this one, just to see how these grants work within it, because I don't have enough experience on that. I'm looking at our master plan that you all approved, specifically regarding facade improvement programs, guidelines, architectural consulting program, but beautification and landscaping improvements is on there. So I think it's just, you know, looking at your master plan, like, where does that fall in line with it? I think it's there.
It's there.
Yeah, it's
I
it's
think
still
it's
including
there.
it, you're not
Yeah.
eliminating it. So if it makes it easier for where we're at budget-wise, call it the facade grant for the year and see what we get, and then go back next year and change the budget. If it's gonna
Change
cause
the-
more headaches, than it's worth, keep it as the facade now, the same way I've proposed it. And then next year, we can have that conversation when we're working on the budget, if we wanna change it to the beautification.
Well, what
So-
if for your proposed policy, or what if for this process, you just call it facade/beautification application?
What if you leave it, as he said, leave it alone right now? Because you don't know how many sign things are coming in, you don't know how many facade things.
Right.
And if we get an abundance, then next year we revisit this and break that apart. But I think you can leave it all in the one pot this year.
Yeah,
Well,
that-
if we're going away from line item, as long as it's under the same category.
Category,
It's all
yeah.
going to still be in the same
Right.
pot anyways.
Do we need a motion for this?
I think if you're gonna have a policy that you're gonna propose, and the actual
Well,
policy
I'm-
will be given to the board at next month's meeting.
Well, I'm asking for this to be provided to you so that the policy can be written and bring it back to us, basically. So, that's, I guess, my action item would be for the board to approve this as an action item for, direction to you for how to form that policy.
Are you making that motion?
I'm not making a motion, I'm asking for one.
I make the motion to have Elizabeth take off with this worksheet and guidelines to write the policy for the facade, and the sign grant's already in there, right?
Yeah, this is not.
Okay,
Yeah.
just for the facade award.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Well, hold on a second. I know I have many talents, but writing quickly is not one of them. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I would just note, and not that they wouldn't be willing, but that's not part of MIT's contract. So we would need to ask their permission first.
Sure.
If they would do it, if we need to pay them, maybe we just put contractor, current contractor, because you never know.
Yeah, I mean, any way, I think, at Elizabeth's discretion to do that and figure out who's going to,
But I think we shouldn't assume their time with
True,
asking them.
That's
Yeah.
a good point. And actually, to Megan's point, that's actually what MIT TV has done specifically for Vintage Fest, spelled out. Basically, it's just an MOU, explaining what they're providing, so that it's just clear what that is. So.
Is that a bartered sponsorship?
In kind. It's an in-kind donation.
Okay.
That's how they worded it, yeah.
Yep. Okay, new business, Parker Alley.
Okay, so, as you can see, I did not have the action item ready for you guys when board packet went out, which is why it came out this afternoon. The background on this, and you're gonna meet her in just a second, but, artist Sarah Casper came to the DDA as a result of hearing about our alley beautification project from Starkweather Art Center. She's a talented, energetic, and motivated, to help improve the downtown beautification through the use of her art. As this would be a permanent installation, this is why we are coming to the board for approval, as that falls outside the previously approved scope of work for the beautification project being temporary art. Funding for this would be paid out of the alley beautification fund that was previously approved. Like I said earlier tonight, of the approved $15,000 budget, we still have approximately $8,000 left. So far, only $8,500 has been raised in donations. So on that, Sarah, come on up to the podium. Welcome.
Hello, all. I'm Sarah Casper. I'm a local artist. I have lived, I'll skip over this bio. This is short and sweet. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it here today, so type this up, but I'm going to give you a brief introduction. I've lived in Romeo since 2003. My husband and I, we bought our first home in 2005, and then after the good old market crash, we looked for 2.5 years and found our permanent home on Mellon Street. It was the best of both worlds, I suppose, because we're not leaving the area. We want to stay in the community. My husband, Brandon, is on the fire department, so we are long-term community residents. We're never leaving. However, I have 2 children. They're in Romeo schools. I started very early as an artist. My dad taught me everything, and also he taught me how to build. We refinished our entire house, so I have a lot of building background under my belt. So this proposed sculpture that I am looking to install in the Parker Alley, Parker Way Alley? Is that how you say it? Parker Alley?
Parker
Okay,
Alley.
Parker Alley. Would be a permanent structure because it would be mortared in. It's used, what I do is I take wine bottles and I create a mosaic out of it, kind of like stained glass windows, except it is a permanent structure. So it will have to have a foundation put into it. And in order for this to be temporary, it would actually have to be torn down. Get your pickaxe out and such. And I'm not sure that that's quite the route that Romeo wants to go, is to have deconstruction of something like this also. I ran into Elizabeth in the Starkweather Alley after the Romeo Guild meeting in May, and we just kind of, it was serendipitous, I guess. We spoke about this project at the RGA meeting, and there was not a lot of interest, being that a lot of these artists are extremely, their portfolio is built. They're not going to want to just donate an item because they're worried about liability and such of their actual piece. Since this piece is permanent, it would be structurally intact. It would not have to move. I wouldn't have to, and it would also be donated. I'm not worried about if it's being destroyed later on because something else is going in it. But you guys won't want to destroy this. It's going to be absolutely magnificent because it will be a 6 foot tall, 8 foot wide, about 400 bottles. I've already collected, already been cutting to assemble. Mosaic. This is a very crude rendering that I have. Being that it is a sculpture, a lot of the different work has to be done on site. So what I proposed is a vine and floral sculpture. The floral little flowers on that piece, that is not what they are going to look like. They're in your packet. You can see different examples of what these walls look like after they're completed. I would backlight this mural with spotlights, so then at nighttime, they would come on just solar lights, and then it would project the light through these bottles, and it would bring in, I guess, attention, you could say, at nighttime also, not just during the day. So what I am looking for is, because I am donating my time and bottle collection, because I was going to use this for a home project. We were building a wall in our backyard, a garden wall, because I'm an avid gardener, and I've been collecting these bottles for quite some time now. But when I ran into Elizabeth, I'm like, why can't we use something like this for Romeo? So I would need some sort of budget for the materials for mortar and a tumbler, because this structure, because I'm gathering the bottles and doing all the work on my own right now, I can put this structure in max a couple days, but it does depend on the weather. If the weather is poor, it may take a week to do this, because it's all dependent on the rain, cement, concrete work. Anybody that's installing this, it always depends on the weather. So all the materials will be brought into the site. I'm looking for about $1,500 for mortar, extra blades to cut the bottles. We would need rebar, crushed concrete and such. There's a list of the different items that I would need. The total amount that I've come up with so far is $1,292, but because of unforeseen expenses that may pop up, I am asking for $1,500 for this piece to be installed.
Where's this going? I know it's going in the alley, but where
Right on the
exactly?
front northwest corner, Keller Williams side.
Mary's building.
On her building?
No.
Nope, it's in the
flower bed.
garden area where.
Oh, okay, so
Yep.
it's
It would actually
mortared
be-
into the ground?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, it's
gotcha.
flat, it's not.
Nope, it's vertical. It's 6 feet tall.
But it's
and
more,
8 feet wide.
It's in the-
that's
It's
like
about a
base.
foot deep. So
Okay.
there will be boulders incorporated into the design also, and then the bottles will be stacked and flowed through.
So it's
Gotcha.
freestanding.
It is
Not
freestanding,
on the ground.
right.
That particular location, which I'm not real familiar with, you guys are, isn't there a window in that building?
There is, it would be before the window. It would be in between that window and the entry of the building.
Outside her window, block her, I mean, there's a, before the window, so
No,
there's
she,
no window.
she
behind.
wouldn't impede the window.
No, it would
Not
be,
impede the window.
the alleyway, Elizabeth, do you
That's
have
the,
that?
the only
Sure.
folder I did not grab from the office was the alley project
That's why
folder,
I
and,
asked
yeah.
I might have
There's a
that.
big dirt garden area.
I just wouldn't want to
Yeah, it
impede
is.
anybody's window
Oh,
unless they're.
Actually, Mary was out,
their window,
you want to
so-
mention
Yep,
that?
yep. Mary and I had already walked the area to discuss where to put it, and she was okay with that specific area because currently, let me see if I have it on here. Okay, this is this alley. So there's a light, I'm not sure if you could see this very well, but there's a light post
Oh,
right
here we go,
there.
right here.
Did you find it?
Yep, got my
Okay.
picture right here.
It would be centered right on that wall. It's a brick wall that it wouldn't obstruct any window
You see it,
or
okay.
Yep,
anything of the sort.
So in between,
that in the back of the building. Yep.
So it's not in front of the window.
No, nope.
And then
So
this
the
is-
window is on the side and then it's right next to it, in between the next
And
window.
then this is freestanding, you mentioned it's fairly thick, is there any falling over, any
Nope,
liability?
I would install rebar into it, so then it would reinforce the wall.
So let's back up, is this affixed to the wall?
No, it's
No.
not.
Okay, it's at ground level,
It is on the ground, yes.
so it's laying,
It's cemented in, right?
Yep, it's 6 feet tall and 8 feet wide and about a foot thick.
and it's away from the wall.
It is away from the wall. Yep.
And you talked about putting lights behind the box.
Yes.
So how many lights would you do?
I think that we could get away with okay, so I've been searching online and I think we can get away with 2 spotlights. The set that I found actually has 2 bulbs on each spotlight and the heads can be angled at different directions, so we can point 2 up and 2 down or whichever direction we choose out of those 4s. We could always add more if we needed to, but I think that 4 should be
So
sufficient.
this is not something kids screwing around could knock down?
No, it cannot. And if,
Well, I had to
Great
ask.
question.
yeah, no, this
We got the
is. this is-
skateboarders, we got the bikers, so.
Yeah, this is a very heavy duty. It's just like a masoned wall. It's just as thick, if not thicker, than your typical cinder block wall, which is 8 inches thick. This would be 12.
do you have the lights taken into account for the 1,500 you're asking for?
I do. They're actually very affordable. They're
Okay.
$30 for a set of 2.
How do you get electrical to
So-
it?
They would be solar.
Hmm.
Yep.
Well, that's a good idea.
Is there any village discussion, being village property, that needs to take place?
Was my only
I
thought.
believe that's Mary's Is
No,
that
no,
actually
no.
Mary's
No,
property?
no,
That's
it's,
part
it's
right
the
there.
alley. Mhm.
Okay.
No, Megan?
So we,
Village property.
right, but it has to start here.
Mhm.
And we already have Mistig coming out to mark everything too, just to make sure. Jeff, who is, the guy that comes through the town, is Casper, is his last name Casper?
Jeff Hop.
Thank you, I always forget his last name.
Actually,
Yeah, oh, I didn't know that. So he got a great history of some of the plantings that are in there and how he planted them and whatnot. And I said, hey, we might have this thing here if it gets approved. And he goes, oh, no problem, I'll help you move them. So there's some some beautiful, forget the word, but,
Perennials.
yes, but
Yeah.
they're irises that are, they're heirloom, that's the word I'm looking for, that can be moved to.
So the
a
question
different
on the
space.
floor is, we can approve it, but you still have to go to council because it is their property, correct?
I would, we have a council member here, so.
That's what I would think I would approve
Yeah.
at our level, have everything done so that it's all ready to ask for further approval and that there's no cost to the village. It's
Right.
being paid for.
I do have you ever done anything this size before?
I
with
just
that medium?
installed my own pool. I concreted blocked the pool, and it's it's 4 feet wide, or I'm sorry, 4 feet deep, and it's a 11 by 11 pool, concrete pool blocked in. I've done a lot of different home and construction
Okay.
projects. We completely redid our entire house from just my husband and I, we did, so.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Oh, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve installation of floral bottle glass mural by artist Sarah Casper in an amount not to exceed $1,500 as presented.
I'll second it, but I'm going to say, then it has to go to council.
Pending, you could add pending
Yeah,
village approval.
Pending
Yeah.
village approval.
Okay.
Can I ask for one clarification?
Sure.
This 1,500, as it states here, this is already in the approved budget for the
The alleyway
alley
beautification.
beautification fund.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yes, correct.
Mhm.
That fund was given to you to use at your discretion, correct?
Correct,
Well, it exceeds
but
the
within it, it
purchasing
was
policy,
for
right?
temporary.
Let's see.
It was for temporary art, and this is a permanent installation. Trust me, I thought, I'm like, oh, yes, we're perfect, and I'm like, wait a minute, the wording on this is not right, I need to take this before the board.
The idea
So it's
of
the
what
same
her
monies, but
vision
you're doing
is
it
of the
because it's permanent
final
versus
project.
temporary.
Correct.
I'd like to make sure that we get like a plaque too, similar to the one that's on the mural that was done. So like have something like that next to it with all of Sarah's information there.
My brother-in-law does engraving.
Oh,
He had
perfect.
already said that he can put the DDA logo on there.
Great.
and-
It would be as part of the art
Yes.
in it.
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
So
Even
what we're
better.
looking to do, we've thought about this, she thought this through, because what we can do is set a precedence for any other permanent arts, the things going within the central business district is that starts, again, it's the branding, right? So that it's in everything, and the fact that she wants to incorporate it. Speaking of branding, she contacted us through the new website. So that was how the communication came through that. She said, I didn't want to wait until Monday.
I did.
So she found it, and yeah, it was very random. I was walking my dog, and I'm like, what are you guys here for? And I had no idea, so.
So we
What
have,
did you say the timeline on this was? If
The-
the weather's good.
So I would like, all right, so if this is approved, I-
but you can't go to council till July.
what?
They don't have a meeting? No, we're still, their meeting's always after us.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We got June already.
It's July.
Don't speed it up, please.
Sorry about that.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yes,
So it's the 20th, is your board meeting the 20th?
yes,
The third Monday?
yeah.
Third Monday.
So I put in here that I would not begin construction until no earlier than June 27th, being that I'm just giving myself leeway for these bottles. However, they're going a lot quicker than I thought to cut them and assemble them for use. What did I put in here? 2 weeks is what I put for cutting and assembling. However, I do think that I could cut that in, that back, but I do need at least a week. I want to say that I put
Under
in
promise.
longer.
Under
here.
promise.
Over deliver, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Give
So
yourself
how-
more time.
I know, I'm trying to find where I put it in here. If I had a month to get this done, that's how long I would need, from the beginning to the end.
How do you protect all your material? Do you bring all the materials down there? How do you protect them when you're not there?
I would only be bringing the materials
That she's using.
that I'm
Oh,
using at that
piece at a
moment in
time.
time. Because
Okay.
right now, what I'm doing is I'm organizing them based on the mural is I'm keeping the wine boxes and keeping them
Okay.
gridded out, so then they can be quickly installed when they're actually put into place.
I think as long as it could be done by Peach Fest, that'd be great. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's the,
Do we want to say until
do it soon,
That's-
get it,
The
no, get
sooner
it
the
done
better.
sooner.
Sooner,
Yeah,
but
don't let
at
that
no
slow you
later
down,
than
but I'm
Peach
just saying,
Fest.
like, that would be great if that was like the marker for
I
it's
can
gonna be
absolutely
done.
guarantee it
By
done by
August
All right,
first, by
it
Peach
should give you
Fest.
more than enough time for
Yep,
what you're talking,
that would
so.
be plenty of time.
Okay,
Okay, so you made the
I got the
motion.
motion.
I'll second it. You have to do a roll call, Elizabeth?
I would love to, but I have a couple things I'd like to say about this, if
Okay.
that's okay. When Sarah came to me and she sent me an article of similar things, the picture in this collage that you see, the top left one, when I saw that, I'm like, no way. We were in North Carolina last year, and my son and I went to one of the botanic gardens in Wilmington, North Carolina, and this is their bottle glass chapel. And I remember going there and just going, this is just stunning. So it's just
Amazing.
crazy. I'm like, what? We could have this in downtown. In addition, I remember when I came on board, one of the many emails, Zach, that you sent me in my first couple months on the job, you were just like, I'd love to see us do more art in downtown. And how do we do that? How do we work through this? And in talking with Sarah, I said, we really need an art council to talk about what does future art in the village look like? Because it can't just be Starkweather, it can't just be the DDA board, it can't just be the village council, it needs to be other minds who have thoughts. Well, guess what happened last week? Another artist contacted me and said, I'm seeing all of this stuff happening in downtown, I've been doing all this work in Oxford, I would love to do some more art in downtown if there's a room for that. It doesn't even have to be my design, but I would like to help. And I've always steered away from that. She said she just recently retired school teacher. So it's fun to see how these things are coming to fruition without us actually really seeking it. But as they say, if you build it, they will come, right? So that's, yeah, so pretty neat how she came in, so.
Serendipitous.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call.
Okay, Tara,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Brandt. Oh, he's not here, sorry. Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Stevens.
Yes.
All right. Very good, congratulations. So that'll be fun. We'll keep you progress. What's
One more
exciting
step.
about this is, well, we will also work on, she will, and I will work together, and probably pull Madison on this too, of course. But we'll probably get some closure in the front of a couple parking spots from DPW when she's working. I know you've probably seen in other advertising of different events or PRs that, it'll probably create a bunch of social media buzz. It'll probably create, there might be, who knows, there might, different media outlets that'll come and actually record her doing all of this stuff. And then what might that create? An opportunity. And last but not least, I wanted to mention to you,
Should get the Historical
We-
Society,
what's that?
the Historical Society, somehow getting them in, it would, really fun would be a time lapse.
Oh.
Put in archives, something.
That would be great. That would be wonderful, absolutely. I feel like oh, yes, so I can't say what they are right now, but we have 3 new businesses coming into downtown, and I wish I could tell you what they are, but I can't. But by this time next year, next month, sorry, you'll know what those are, and it's gonna be some exciting changes downtown. One last quick thing. We got 20 free tickets in the mail today to the Monster Truck Show, if anybody wants any of these. I was thinking of possibly just like giving them out online, the first whoever set of 4, but they just came, actually they came to Randy Seidel, to the Romeo DDA in the mail today.
That was a
Make sure
while
they're
back.
not his.
Yeah,
Give it to
exactly.
Randy's.
Yeah, so they're here. If anybody feels like that wouldn't be appropriate for us to do that, but I went online, she was still there, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, $40 a ticket? Are you kidding me? That's how much they cost. So I'd hate, it's this weekend and next weekend. If nobody objects, I'd like to, kind of like, it'll be a great promote, just give them away.
Kelly wants to go.
Pardon?
Me.
Could we go as a board?
Since I'm not part of the board, y'all go. Here you go. Yeah.
Kids got it at school, I think it's some sort of.
Yeah, like vouchers or they send out. We used to do that
And
with
just
the
to say,
bike.
there's a possible 4th business also, so not just 3.
Nice. Awesome.
Okay. Elizabeth, roundtable.
I have nothing.
You got nothing? Megan?
Thank you, ladies, all 3 of you. Doing great stuff, and appreciate your continued push and pull and dedication.
Thank you.
Just a reminder of the Night Under the Stars on Friday, the 24th. Always a great event.
I got nothing.
All set.
Look at that, guys. 1 hour in 40 minutes.
I have one last thing I
Not
do want to.
here to witness it.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
I'll second it. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Good job, guys.